Introduction: the increasing vulnerability of China to natural disasters. Over the past few decades, China has witnessed significant economic growth and infrastructural development. However, alongside this progress, the nation has faced increasingly severe natural disasters, most notably catastrophic floods. The recent series of floods, exacerbated by dam failures and unprecedented rainfall, have underscored the vulnerabilities in China's infrastructure and disaster preparedness systems. These events have not only resulted in immediate devastation, but have also sparked discussions on the long-term implications for the nation's development and its ability to cope with future-related challenges. Role of major dams in China's flood management strategy. China's strategy for managing its extensive river systems has historically relied on the construction of large dams, such as the Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River, which is the world's largest hydropower project. These dams were designed to serve multiple purposes, control floods, generating hydroelectric power, and providing water for irrigation. However, the construction of floods has in some instances exacerbated the problem. The Three Gorges Dam, engineering marvel or ticking time bomb. The Three Gorges Dam, often hailed as an engineering marvel, has been at the center of controversy since its inception. Proponents argue that the dam has played a crucial role in flood control and power generation, while critics point out the environmental and social costs, including the displacement of millions of people and the submergence of large tracts of fertile land. Recent events have brought these concerns into sharp focus. In a span of just a few days, the Three Gorges Dam was overwhelmed by floodwaters, leading to the inundation of 3 provinces. The dam's inability to contain the floodwaters has raised questions about its design, its operational management, and the broader strategy of using large-scale infrastructure projects to control natural forces. The impact of dam failures on local communities. Immediate consequences: loss of life and property. The failure of dams, whether due to design flaws, operational mismanagement, or extreme weather conditions, has immediate and devastating consequences for local communities. In the provinces affected by the recent floods, tens of thousands of people were forced to evacuate their homes as water levels surged beyond critical limits. Entire villages were submerged, and in some cases the water rose so quickly that residents had little time to escape. The floods destroyed homes, businesses, schools, and hospitals, leaving many without shelter, income, or access to essential services. The disruption to daily life was profound, with families separated, livelihoods lost, and a deep sense of insecurity permeating the affected regions. Long-term socioeconomic impacts beyond the immediate loss of life and property. The long-term socioeconomic impacts of these floods are likely to be severe. Agricultural land, the backbone of many rural communities, was inundated, leading to the destruction of crops and livestock. For farmers, this means not only a loss of income for the current season, but also the potential for long-term financial instability if the land remains unproductive or if future harvests are threatened. In urban areas, the floods cause widespread damage to infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and power lines. The cost of repairing this infrastructure will be substantial, diverting resources from other critical areas of development. Moreover, the floods have disrupted supply chains, leading to shortages of essential goods and services, which will have ripple effects throughout the economy. Government response: strengths and weaknesses, emergency response, and evacuation efforts. In the wake of the flooding, the Chinese government mobilized significant resources to assist in the evacuation of residents and the provision of emergency relief. Military units were deployed to the hardest-hit areas to help with search and rescue operations, distribute food and water, and restore basic services. The scale of the government's response was impressive, reflecting its ability to mobilize quickly in the face of disaster. However, despite these efforts, there were significant challenges. The speed and scale of the flooding caught many off guard, leading to delays in evacuation and difficulties in reaching some of the most affected areas. The destruction of roads and bridges further complicated the delivery of aid, leaving some communities isolated for days. Financial aid and reconstruction plans. In addition to immediate relief efforts, the Chinese government has announced plans for extensive financial aid and reconstruction programs. These plans include compensation for those who have lost their homes and livelihoods, as well as funding for the rebuilding of critical infrastructure. The government has also promised to invest in new flood control measures and to improve the resilience of existing structures. While these plans are ambitious, they face significant challenges. The sheer scale of the destruction means that reconstruction will take years, and the costs will be enormous. Moreover, there is a growing recognition that simply rebuilding what was lost will not be enough. Instead, there is a need for a more comprehensive approach that addresses the underlying vulnerabilities that made these communities so susceptible to flooding in the first place. The role of climate change in intensifying natural disasters. Extreme weather events and their impact on flooding climate change is widely recognized as a contributing factor to the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, including the heavy rainfall that has led to these catastrophic floods. As global temperatures rise, the atmosphere can hold more moisture, leading to more intense and prolonged periods of rainfall. This, in turn, increases the risk of flooding, particularly in areas with inadequate infrastructure to manage large volumes of water. In China, the impact of climate change is being felt across the country, with record-breaking temperatures, prolonged droughts, and more frequent and severe typhoons. The recent floods are just one example of how climate change is exacerbating natural disasters and challenging the resilience of communities and infrastructure. The need for adaptation and mitigation strategies. The growing recognition of the role of climate change in these disasters has led to calls for more robust adaptation and mitigation strategies. In the context of flood management, this means not only improving existing infrastructure, such as dams and levees, but also investing in natural solutions, such as restoring wetlands and reforesting watersheds, which can help to absorb excess water and reduce the risk of flooding. Mitigation efforts are also crucial, particularly in reducing greenhouse gas emissions to slow the pace of climate change. China, as one of the world's largest emitters of carbon dioxide, has a critical role to play in global efforts to mitigate climate change. The recent floods serve as a stark reminder of the importance of these efforts and the need for urgent action. The psychological toll on affected populations, trauma and mental health challenges. The psychological impact of the floods on affected populations cannot be overstated. For those who have lost their homes, livelihoods, and loved ones, the trauma is profound and long-lasting. Many survivors are struggling with anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as they grapple with the enormity of the disaster and the uncertainty of the future. Mental health services are often limited in disaster-stricken areas, compounding the challenges faced by survivors. While emergency relief efforts typically focus on providing food, water, and shelter, there is a growing recognition of the need to address the psychological needs of those affected by such disasters. Community support and resilience. Despite the trauma, there have been remarkable displays of resilience and solidarity within affected communities. Neighbors have come together to help one another, sharing resources and offering support in the face of overwhelming adversity. This sense of community has been a critical factor in helping survivors to cope with the disaster and begin the process of rebuilding their lives. Local and international organizations have also played a vital role in providing psychological support through counseling services, support groups, and community-based programs designed to help survivors process their experiences and build resilience for the future. International response and cooperation, humanitarian aid and support. The international community has responded to the disaster with offers of humanitarian aid and support. Countries and organizations from around the world have sent food, medical supplies, and financial assistance to help those affected by the floods. The Red Cross and other international NGOs have been active on the ground, providing critical services to those in need. This international response has highlighted the importance of global solidarity in the face of natural disasters. However, it has also raised questions about the adequacy of current global systems for disaster response, particularly in the context of increasingly frequent and severe natural disasters driven by climate change. Lessons for global disaster preparedness. The floods in China offer important lessons for global disaster preparedness. One of the key takeaways is the need for robust, flexible, and scalable systems that can respond quickly to disasters of varying magnitudes. This includes not only the physical infrastructure needed to manage floods and other natural disasters, but also the social and institutional frameworks that support effective disaster response and recovery. There is also a need for greater international cooperation in addressing the root causes of these disasters, particularly climate change. The floods in China serve as a reminder that no country is immune to the impacts of climate change, and that global action is needed to mitigate these effects and protect vulnerable communities around the world. Moving forward, building resilience in the face of climate change. Investing in resilient infrastructure. One of the most pressing challenges facing China in the wake of the floods is the need to build more resilient infrastructure. This includes not only repairing and rebuilding what was lost, but also making strategic investments in infrastructure that can withstand the increasing risks posed by climate change. This might involve designing buildings, roads, and bridges that are more resistant to flood damage, as well as implementing advanced flood management systems that can better control water levels and protect vulnerable areas. Expressing concern for China. 14, I guess if you just follow what your country tells you, the rest of the world will hate you. Thinking things through. And trust is more important than anything else. 15 hundreds of years ago, Emperor Kangxi of the Qing dynasty said, "Disasters caused by the Yellow River bursting its banks were all caused by human negligence. Simply put, they were man-made disasters. Disasters caused indirectly by human negligence. 16, China should keep